Padre Pio, an extraordinary man, a living saint, who, through the gift of prophecy and visions, left a message as disturbing as it is fascinating for those who believe and for those who seek answers in the mysteries of faith. In this video, you will discover how his words and revelations anticipated events destined to change the course of the spiritual history of humanity, shaking the certainties of anyone who considers himself devout. Before proceeding, I ask you all to subscribe and comment with your opinion or simply with an amen. Let's get back to us. Padre Pio, born Francesco Forgione in a small town in southern Italy, demonstrated from an early age a devotion that went far beyond the normal spirituality of children. While the other children played carefree, Francis spent hours in prayer, immersed in a silent contemplation that hinted at an extraordinary destiny. His mother, a deep believer, introduced him to the world of faith early on, and soon the young Francis began to receive visions and messages that seemed to come directly from the divine. Despite the economic difficulties and adversities of family life, the father sacrificed himself by leaving his homeland to work in a foreign country, so that his son could follow the path that God had already traced for him. Thus, at only 15 years old, Francis entered the novitiate of the Capuchin friars, where he began the journey that would lead him to become one of the most beloved and controversial saints in Christian history, Padre Pio. During his religious journey, Padre Pio stood out for his discipline, his intense prayer, and above all, for the extraordinary gift of visions. Since he was a child, he had declared that he had seen Jesus, the Virgin Mary, and even his guardian angel, experiences that for him were as natural as breathing. These apparitions were not simple emotions or sensations, but real, detailed messages full of spiritual meaning, which would later prove to be precise and at times even prophetic. His predictions were not vague generalizations, but clear and definitive announcements. Padre Pio was able to perceive the future with such precision that he could predict imminent events, warning those who listened to him of dangers and suggesting concrete actions to avoid tragedies. His ability to read people's souls, to know their sins and sufferings even before they were spoken, made him a point of reference for thousands of believers who saw him as a messenger of God. But what I propose you learn about today are his last 3 predictions, final announcements that left the Christian world shocked, and that still today fuel debates, hopes, and fears. The first of Padre Pio's 3 final predictions concerns an imminent spiritual awakening that would shake the very foundations of the Christian faith. He announced that the world, immersed in an age of darkness and confusion, would soon experience an awakening of conscience, a moment in which millions of people, tired of the lies and oppressions that had marked centuries of injustice, would be destined to discover their true divine essence. Padre Pio spoke of an inner transformation that would free souls held captive by an oppressive system, a system that had sought for too long to hide the truth about the spiritual gifts and inherent power of every human being. According to him, this awakening would not be just an individual phenomenon, but would involve entire communities and nations, bringing about an age of great enlightenment in which the light of truth would dissolve the darkness of ignorance. The saint stressed that such a transformation would have a devastating impact on consolidated systems of power, which would have been forced to confront a reality in which faith and spirituality would prevail over every form of injustice and manipulation. Padre Pio's words on this subject resounded as a call to inner revolution, an invitation to every Christian to free himself from the chains of selfishness and fear, to embrace a new era of awareness and unity. The second prediction, equally shocking, concerns a spiritual conflict of global proportions. Padre Pio foretold that the world would be the scene of a great battle not only between nations or ideologies, but between the forces of good and evil, an invisible war that would involve all of humanity. He argued that this battle would not be fought with physical weapons, but with the power of faith, prayer, and spiritual awareness. In this vision, evil, represented by the dark forces that had sought to manipulate and repress the truth for centuries, would intensify, seeking to prevent spiritual awakening and maintain control over the souls of men. Padre Pio warned that anyone who chose to oppose this force of evil would face enormous hardship and suffering, while only through courage, unshakable faith, and constant prayer could one emerge victorious from this struggle. The saint predicted that the spiritual conflict would lead to catastrophic events, clear signs for those who were able to perceive the arrival of this crisis. He invited the faithful to prepare themselves, to strengthen their connection with God through the rosary and meditation, because the battle that was about to break out would put the convictions of every Christian to the test. His second prediction, therefore, was not a mere warning, but an urgent invitation to renew one's faith, to rediscover the value of prayer, and to unite in a pact of love and solidarity against the forces of darkness. Padre Pio's third and final prediction is the one that has particularly shaken the hearts of Christians, a definitive revelation regarding the hidden truth about peoples, especially Black people, and the glorious destiny that awaits those who have preserved their identity and their faith despite centuries of oppression. Padre Pio revealed that official history, often contaminated by prejudice and manipulation, hid a powerful secret. Black people were not destined to suffer oppression forever, but had a spiritual power and wisdom that could transform the world. He described how, through a collective awakening, Black people would regain their dignity, freeing themselves from the chains imposed by centuries of exploitation and injustice. This prediction was particularly shocking because it challenged the established narratives of history and religion, inviting Christians to reconsider their concept of justice and truth. Padre Pio argued that the revelation of this truth would bring about a spiritual and cultural rebirth, an age in which every individual could recognize his or her intrinsic value and connection to the divine. According to the saint, this awakening would not only redraw the cultural and social maps, but would also bring about a profound change in the hearts and minds of anyone who opened themselves to the truth. He invited everyone, including Christians, not to fear this change, but to embrace it as the sign of a new era in which love and justice would prevail over all forms of discrimination and prejudice. Padre Pio's three final predictions are not simply announcements of future events, but are an invitation to renew one's faith and rediscover the true meaning of life. They remind us that spirituality goes far beyond human appearances and structures, and that the power of the divine can emerge in moments of greatest darkness. The saint teaches us that every crisis, every suffering, is also an opportunity to get closer to God and to prepare for a change that, although difficult, will lead to a collective rebirth. Padre Pio's message is not to remain passive in the face of adversity, but to respond with courage and prayer. He urges us to strengthen our connection with the divine through meditation and the rosary, powerful tools to fight temptations and protect our souls from dark forces. Each Hail Mary becomes, according to him, a declaration of love for God and a battle against evil. Even after his passing from earthly life, the figure of Padre Pio continues to illuminate the path of millions of faithful. His ability to see beyond the present, to anticipate the future, and to reveal hidden truths has made him a symbol of hope and renewal. The testimonies of miracles, apparitions, and experiences of spiritual healing linked to her intercession are numerous and testify to the power of her message. The saint did not intend his abilities to be celebrated for self-exaltation, but saw in them a means to guide souls towards a life of faith and love. His humility, his sacrifice, and the pain he accepted as an integral part of his mission made him a true instrument of God. The final three predictions, in particular, continue to shake the Christian world, pushing every believer to question his or her own destiny and the role that faith can play in the transformation of society. The words of Padre Pio, like those contained in his predictions, are not a simple warning, but an invitation to change the course of our lives and to actively participate in a spiritual revolution. He asks us not to let fear, doubt, or conformism prevent us from embracing the light of truth. In an age in which certainties seem to falter and traditional truths are being questioned, Padre Pio's message resonates as a beacon that guides us toward a new era of awareness and unity. His invitation is clear: prepare to awaken, strengthen your faith, and do not be afraid to challenge the forces that seek to keep you in darkness. His final predictions tell us that change is imminent and that every soul, no matter how insignificant it may seem, has the power to contribute to a global transformation. We must embrace our part of the divine, recognize the value of prayer and meditation, and join together in a collective effort to bring light where darkness now reigns. Padre Pio's three final predictions represent much more than a series of prophetic announcements. They are a call to spiritual rebirth, a challenge to live a life of authentic faith and not to fear change. They remind us that, even in the darkest moments, divine light is always present, ready to guide us towards a better future. The destiny of every Christian and of all humanity is intertwined with this message of hope. The words of Padre Pio urge us not to remain passive in the face of adversity, to seek within ourselves the strength to resist temptations and to renew our faith every day. The battle against evil is a reality that goes beyond the visible, and only those who fully embrace the power of prayer and spiritual awareness will be able to achieve victory. As we continue to navigate a world marked by conflict and uncertainty, Padre Pio's message becomes an urgent appeal to never forget that the light, however hidden it may be, never goes out. It is just waiting for someone to have the courage to turn it on, spread it, and make it shine with the power of love and truth. In conclusion, Padre Pio's three final predictions, the spiritual awakening, the conflict between the forces of good and evil, and the revelation of the hidden truth about oppressed peoples, are an invitation to look beyond appearances, to rediscover our inner power, and to actively participate in a change that can transform the world. They are a battle cry for every Christian and for anyone who believes that faith can be the key to a collective rebirth. The path to the light requires courage, determination, and unshakable faith. Padre Pio showed us, through his example and his prophecies, that every suffering has a meaning and that every obstacle can be overcome with divine help. Today, as then, the world awaits that moment when the truth will emerge, and each of us has the duty to contribute to this awakening. I invite you to reflect on these words, to be inspired by Padre Pio's message, and not to be afraid to embrace your part of the divine. The light will triumph over the darkness, and every act of faith, every sincere prayer, will be the spark that lights the change. Be ready to awaken, to take part in the spiritual revolution, and to testify with your heart and soul that the truth is the most powerful weapon against all injustice. The future is in our hands, and as Padre Pio taught us, the path to salvation and truth passes through the courage to look inside ourselves and never give in to darkness. His 3 final predictions are a warning and an invitation. Let us prepare ourselves for awakening, let us strengthen our faith, and let the divine light illuminate the path of every soul, so that together we can build a world in which love and truth reign supreme. This is the story of a destiny marked by faith, of a journey filled with visions and prophecies that still today shake the conscience of anyone who listens to Padre Pio's message. His final predictions are not just announcements of future events, but an invitation to renew our existence, not to fear change, and to believe that even in moments of deep darkness, the light of God can and will triumph. Be part of this awakening, listen to the call of your soul, and allow the truth, so shocking and liberating, to transform your life.